it's that pull.
Hmm.
W- We all have that pull. Maybe it's somebody that you meet and you go, gosh, I don't know why they seem so familiar to me, or they need to be my friend, or I need to ask for their phone number, or whatever that pull is. And that is really our deep intuition. But I also think it's God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, love moving us into a direction. And we may see that something, an opportunity that, or something that we had, we feel like it's a loss. At the moment, it feels like the worst thing,
Yeah.
but really, it might be just moving you into another direction of which you need to go.
You guys, welcome back to the Design the Life You Love with Lynz podcast. I'm so excited for you to hear from Christine. She's coming to us from Sydney, Australia. She's got so many cool stories. She's another beautiful soul that I've met only because I have this podcast. I continue to be blown away by all the amazing people that I get to meet, the cool conversations that I get to have with people from all over the world. It's all because of this little show, all because I decided to hit record. And if you have been thinking about starting a podcast, reach out to me because I have a podcast course that I'm building right now as we speak. And you can get in if you let me know. Okay, back to Christine. She's going to share some really cool stories about how she followed her whispers. You know, those ones that don't make any sense, but something tells you you just got to go do something or talk to somebody, and how all the things just worked out because of it. So I can't wait for you to hear her stories and also how she can help you. She's a website whisperer, you guys. Her and I had a call shortly after our interview, and she took a look at my website and gave me some tricks and tips and pointers, and I'm really excited to see how they are going to come into play. So without further ado, let's get started. Good morning, my loves. Today on the Design the Life You Love podcast, we have Christine Blosdale from the Expert Authority Coach. And she is coming to us from Sydney. And while we are recording this, she is in tomorrow. So how cool is that? I mean, I just watched The Croods with my kids, and I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but
Mm-mm.
they're always chasing tomorrow. So that's what I thought of when you first said, I'm in tomorrow.
And we're okay. We're all right here. The planet is still here. Yes.
Yeah. So, Christine, tell me how you came to be who you are today.
Mm. Well, that was a combination of a lot of things. I started, I wasn't born the expert authority coach, but uh, I would say that at a really young age, I was encouraged to express my opinion and to talk to the people in my life that I love and that love me, to give my honest opinion. And so I can remember being about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, and my mother, who was a single mom who had it really hard. She was an immigrant. She was from Morocco, Casablanca. Beautiful. I mean, probably one of the most beautiful women on the planet. A Cleopatra kind of vibe, kind of a Elizabeth Taylor look, but also looked like Cher. So if you
Oh,
had
wow.
Elizabeth Taylor, Sophia Loren, and Cher all put together, that was my mom,
That sounds
right?
like a beautiful woman.
Yes, yes, striking. But she would get ready to go to work, and she would work, at night. She worked as a cocktail waitress, and because there wasn't a lot of opportunities either for women, especially when they were divorced and they had a kid. So she would be getting ready to go to work, and she would be putting on her outfits, and she'd put on her tops and she'd have her boots on and stuff, and she'd say, "So, Christine, what do you think?" And I'd look and I'd go, "Hmm." I go, oh, I love the boots. But that top, I don't think that's the right top to wear. I think you need to wear black, or you need to wear white, or you need to wear whatever. And my mother, this is a grown ass woman, changed, and she put on something else. And she said, "What about now?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's good." And so at a really young age, I learned that my opinion, my taste, uh, way I see things mattered and was important, right? And yes, I am that person that if we go to a restaurant, Lynz. If we were sitting there talking and I looked and I saw a painting or a, a photograph on the wall and it's just a little off, I'm the one who gets up. Excuse me one second. I get up and I walk across the room and I'll adjust it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that tells you a bit about my personality. And so I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher of some sort. When I was young, there we didn't coaches. What's that? A coach was like, you know, a softball coach or something like that.
Right.
But I knew I wanted to teach people and I wanted to help them in some way. And so as life has its way, you graduate school, you go, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want, so I tried to be a fitness coach because it was, all those aerobic, it was Jane Fonda was really big. And so I thought, well, I could do that. I could teach aerobics. I was like, I could. And then I was in the fitness world for a while and that was a bit shallow, but I got an opportunity really young to work for America Online. And that was back in the day. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have podcasts, but we had America Online. And so I was very lucky to get a gig working for them, writing a column, an entertainment column. And
Wow.
I learned how to communicate with people, very large audience, from 8 to 80. That was my target audience. And so I had to communicate through writing because it was columns. There was no video stuff going on. And I had to communicate with a very large audience some
And
cool
that's
stuff
hard to
about
do.
it
That's
was a little
so
difficult, but I
hard.
did it through a cartoon character. I created a brand that wasn't Christine Blosdale because who cares about Christine Blosdale and what I think about movies or interviewing celebrities? I did it through a cartoon character called Beatbox Betty, and she was this Hedda Hopper looking, anatomically drawn, incorrectly drawn character who was always a little bit smashed on martinis, right? That was her drink of choice. She was a little off center, but I got to interview major movie stars and directors and went to the premieres and all of that good stuff. And I loved what I was doing. It was fun. I got to be funny. So my personality came through the writing and it was a very popular area in AOL. And then 9/11 happened and I was like, "Oh, wow. This Hollywood stuff is just it pales in comparison to what's happening." And I felt very that it was very shallow and just not really important. So I was searching. And this is for your audience who when you feel that pull, when you feel that thing of like I'm just not right. I just feel like there's something else that I need to be doing. There's something else
The
that I
whisper.
need to go for, right? That led to me channel surfing in my car, as you do in Los Angeles, stuck in traffic. I heard a radio station that was really unique. It drew me in, and I drove to that radio station and I just walked around with a grateful heart. And I said, "Thank you so much for what you're doing during these really crazy times." I found that it wasn't all about fear, fear, fear. It was asking questions and it was talking about policy, the Middle East and policy that we had and the history and that I was never taught. I was like, I didn't know all this stuff happened. And so they were like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I I'm a cartoon character writing for America Online. I interview celebrities." And they were like, "Oh, that's cool." And I said, "Yeah, but you guys are doing like, I don't want to say the Lord's work, but you're doing serious stuff, journalism."
Mhm.
And they said, "You could always volunteer." And I was like, "What?"
Mhm.
So I started volunteering and went from being a volunteer writer to a producer, got on staff, became a producer slash host, and then a major radio talk show host because the star of the show was not able to make it. They broke their leg or were sick. I don't know. Something happened, and I was asked to do the show, to be on the mic and
Wow.
do the whole show. And I was like, no. Imposter syndrome came in. Imposter syndrome. I've never done this before. What are people going to think? I'm going to make a fool out of myself. Is my voice even decent? I was so scared because I was fine and comfortable being behind the scenes, hidden. I was scared to be out in front and to say my name. Oh, I hate to say my name. I was like, this is
Of
Christine.
all the things.
you know, but I had to do it because the show must go on. And it was like 5 o'clock drive time in Los Angeles, the busiest hour.
Oh my
So
God.
I remember just like shaking and going into this dark studio and I put the headphones on or the cans as they say, and I pulled the microphone close. I didn't know what I was gonna say. I didn't know what was gonna come out of my mouth. And then the on-air light went on and the music came in and then the music faded down and the guy goes like he's pointing at me like, go. And I'll tell you, Lynz, it was magical. It was just I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I was able to speak the words that I needed to speak. I could feel the connection with the even though I couldn't see or hear them, I could feel the audience in their cars driving, listening, and I just let I don't know like if it's
You
my
were in
angels that
flow.
helped me out or God, I just let it take over and just said, "Let me speak what I need to say and those that are supposed to hear it will." And if that was the beginning of a 20-year career at that radio station, working for the network and doing on air shows, fundraisers, all of that stuff. So 20 years in broadcast journalism. And I was very, very lucky and happy to have that. But that said, when I would have a guest on and they would come on, I was like that kid, right, with my mom going, I think you should wear this. They would come on, we would have a great conversation. Then afterward, I would say, hey, you need to write a book. You and they're like, really? I thought about it. No, you really do. So I'd start giving business advice.
Oh
You
wow.
know,
Yeah.
I went to your website, and you know what would be really great? Instead of having this, you should have that. And so I was giving it free advice to these really amazing people. And a couple of them said, you know what? Can I hire you just to work on my stuff? And that's how I started. Really, that's just getting out of that and working with
Wow.
people and then I'm 10 years of having a podcast, all that stuff. But now I have clients all over the world, and I truly love what I do. It's a joy and it's a privilege. Absolutely.
Well, it is felt, definitely felt. And I love your story. I mean, following your whisper and you just showing up at the radio station and just being in gratitude that makes you a magnet and just
Yeah.
being in flow and surrendering when the time is right. And that's how the magic happens. I just love it's like a story. It's like the dream.
It's that pull.
Hmm.
W- We all have that pull. If maybe it's somebody that you meet and you go, gosh, I don't know why they seem so familiar to me, or they need to be my friend, or I need to ask for their phone number, or whatever that pull is. And that is really our deep intuition. But I also think it's God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, love moving us into a direction. And we may see that something, an opportunity that, or something that we had, we feel like it's a loss, oh, my boyfriend or my girlfriend broke up with me, or they cheated on me, or my job, let me go. They did terminations for everybody, or they laid people off. This is the worst thing in the world. But at the moment, it feels like the worst thing.
Yeah.
But really, it might be just moving you into another direction of which you need to go,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to relationships. People do some crazy stuff. I almost said the bad word. They do some crazy stuff when they break up with somebody or a divorce. And look at this. I mean, people are horrible to each other, right?
Hmm.
But it might be moving you into a direction, and that's what happened with me. Is I had a crazy thing with a narcissist. Huh, and that'll shatter your heart, and you will never trust another human being ever again.
Oh, I've been there. I know it's exactly.
Okay.
Hmm.
So and you're like, no, I'm good. People, no, I don't think so. It's just gonna be me and my puppy. We'll live life, or my cat. We'll live happily. I don't want to be with another human being. But it was because of that, after that, when my human came into my life. And it was a test. It was like dangling a carrot. It's like, look, this perfect human over here. But I was like, but I don't trust humans. They're horrible. No, you can trust this one. And but listening to that pull,
Mhm.
right? That pull. Why is this person so special? Why do I just think about them all the time? Okay. But it came out of something that was, pretty negative in my life.
Oh,
Came from something that was negative.
I can give you a lot of examples of the same kind of thing. We have a lot in common, I feel like.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just the mistakes or the obstacles are really just redirection. Like God, our angels, our guides, whatever, is just helping us move along a little faster because sometimes we get stuck in a groove and
Mm,
we don't move. And so sometimes it takes losing our job or whatever it might be for us to actually do something.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's how we look at things,
Yeah.
It's really how we look at things. Uh, uh, and I was telling you a little bit earlier before we started the show about how I ended up here in Australia. And I knew with my wife, who I met, who was after the narcissist, I knew that I was going to be moving here, but it was going to be on our terms, right? On our timeline. And God was like, no, we're going to do something else. We're going to have a pandemic. You're 7,000 miles away from your wife and you need to get there now. And so what was interesting was that I had to leave on a moment's notice. We're talking a moment's notice where I had just found out my flight had been canceled for April. It was March 18th, and the airline person was saying all the flights are being canceled because the Australian government is going to close the border. So all the airlines were just canceling their flights to Australia. They're like, well, they're going to close the border. So, and there was one flight left, and it was that day, and it was only in a few hours. And so I was faced with this thing of I was looking around my house. I had a beautiful house by the beach. I had dishes in the sink. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I had to, again, that pull. I had to
Mm.
be here with my wife. I had to get to Australia. And so I said, yes, book it. Sure. And I got on that flight and I left everything. I left I left everything. I just had a suitcase with my microphone because my microphone and my computer because if if I have that I can do anything. Some a couple pieces of clothing. I did stop and get some cash and called my mom, called the radio station that I was working at the time too that they I was towards the tail end of that and got on the flight.
Wow.
And I never I've only come back to the US this last year for my 60th birthday. Last year for 60th birthday for I went to Hawaii. But I left and I hadn't gone home. And that was home. That was, I'm American. I'm not
Yeah.
Australian. I'm
Yeah.
American. And so it was a very strange new world that I was living in.
Oh.
But I knew I would be caught. I knew I would be, okay.
Yeah.
It would all work out. It would all work out.
It reminds me of The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Have you read?
No, I haven't read, but I've heard of it. Yes. It
It's
was
all
a big
about your
leap.
story. Yeah, just trusting that you will be held. The net will appear, jump and the net will appear. And that is wild to think you had like dishes, like you said, when you said dishes in the sink, it was like, wow, that is really, that takes you to how urgent you had to make your decision. And
Where you're living right now, all of your things in your closet, your drawers, photos on the wall, eh, everything. It's like, no, you could take one suitcase, put whatever in there is important to you. I did take what did I take? Oh, my birth certificate. Because I said, what if I get stuck? I don't know. I didn't know. I was like, I'll take my passport. I got my passport. I got my birth certificate, a bit of cash, and then, that's it. We'll be good. I hope.
wow. So did somebody pack up all your things eventually and send them to you or you just
Yeah,
left?
I had rented out well, it was all furnished with my stuff. So somebody that needed a place to stay stayed there for a bit, helped me a little bit towards rent. I'm still paying rent. I paid rent for like another year and a half, while I wasn't there.
Oh,
And a dear friend of mine said, because I did have to get out of the lease, they said they went into my house and we were on Zoom or Skype or something. I don't, she was showing me, she's like, do you want donate trash, or sell? Because she would have a little yard sale for me as well.
oh
But it was
wow.
monstrous. And I didn't have a huge home, but it's everything, you know, it's
Yeah.
just,
Well, anytime you
you don't
move, there's
realize how
just
much
like,
stuff you have. You're
yeah,
like,
anytime you move, there's always a realization of like, oh my God, am I a hoarder? How did all this stuff get
and
here?
she would be like, Christine, how many black t-shirts do you need? I was like, do you know me? Like, my whole wardrobe is black. Of course, I need all of them. But yeah, no, we just shipped through a shipping container. We shipped just a few things, and they were my paintings, and my photo albums were the most important things. Everything else could be, donated, or a few
Well,
things we sold. But yeah, I left everything except for my photo album, my family. That was really important to me. So, and now
what
I
a
made a new
great
life
way.
here in Australia.
Yeah, what a great way to like get really clear on what's important in life, you know? We
Yeah,
spend so much time sometimes focusing on all the BS, the stuff that doesn't really matter. And
yeah,
yeah, we all know how weird and how much COVID shook everybody and everything. And some of it's good, you know? I think it was good in a way to bring perspective to what's important, like you experienced. But
yeah.
yeah, very wild. Wow.
Oh, and for those people that were separated from their family, during this time, weren't able to be with their dying parents or their loved ones, my heart just goes out to them because it was just so inhumane. It was just
Yeah.
and it was so other, so weird.
Mhm.
The whole thing, the whole thing.
It's
Yeah, and
taught us
I
a lot
think
of
we
what not
still.
to do.
What was that?
It's taught us a lot of what not to do, like how to not treat people, how to not take care of the elderly, all the things.
Yeah. And what's important, which is like what you said, we know truly what's important, and we need to remind ourselves of that. So like when your kid goes out the door to go to school, make sure you tell them that you love them. And same thing with your spouse or your partner. You just never know. Never ever know when the last time you're going to see that person. So I think you don't want to have any regrets. So always telling that person that you love them, and the people in your life that you love them. Just
Mm.
overdo it. Just say I love you all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the one area we should always overdo.
Exactly. Exactly.
So tell us about once you got to Australia, like how was life? And you said you were leaving your radio job in LA.
Mhm.
And so what did that look like once you got to Australia?
Well, I was actually really busy during COVID because everybody was, stuck at home on their computers. I think everybody got a PhD in Zoom
Yeah.
because everything was on Zoom. We had meetings with discussions with our friends. We'd be drinking wine with our friends on Zoom, all of that. But I was really busy because a lot of people were taking the time to upskill, and to focus on their own business. And there was a huge explosion of women starting their own business, or doing a bit more on their own home businesses and things like that. And so I was quite busy, and my bread and butter back then too was helping people create podcasts for their brand and their business, because I
Mm,
had so much experience in broadcasting, in radio, and then I had my own podcast. I was showing them how to create how to record, how to edit, how to all this stuff. And so I was quite busy then, and so it didn't slow down for me at all. And I was lucky. I did get to work from home from here for a bit, for the radio station, because I was doing like fun drive shows, and I can record them, anywhere. I could record those anywhere in the world and then just send them the file. But they were really in a bad position, and they were cutting. They were having a hard time financially, and they were cutting a lot of people from the staff. And so
mm.
I was one of those people. It's interesting. Would they needed to save. It was they needed to save. I forget how much I was even getting paid then, but I was raising $1.5 million a year for them, and I think my salary was like 80,000. So they got, what happened was they go, well, we can't afford the this Christine for 80,000. But then when they they terminated my employment, then they lost 1.5 million a year.
Yeah,
So
got
then
themselves right
they
in the foot.
now they're yeah, then they got into a bigger situation. But it was all right. It's all good. It's all good. I had my 20 years.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I really learned a lot from the whole experience.
Yeah. Well, that's part of being led. Like, we don't know what the lesson's going to be. We don't know how it's going to turn out. And I think sometimes we get too focused on, like, no, I want to create this business. And so then we don't follow that whisper to go to the radio station because we're too busy looking at over here when really it all led that way. Um,
Yes.
so is that kind of, tell me how you help women. Has it, you said you started with podcasts, but has it evolved
Mm,
from
yeah.
then to now?
Yes. And with with what I do, really sitting down and speaking to a woman who has her own business, and I love working with coaches. Most of the people I work with are coaches and authors, service providers of some sort. I have therapists that are my clients, and oh my goodness, in the wellness and health industries as well. And it's really sitting down and having that conversation with them to get an imprint of their energy and their vibe, and not to be woo woo, but your brand is you, and your brand is your energy, right? So I like to go through and look at what they have already done. So I will look at their website. I will look at their social media to an extent, but really, I want to figure out what their personality is and work with them on their brand and their branding and their marketing based on who they are, not on who they pretend to be or want to be, but who they actually are. And we play off of those strengths, right?
Mm.
So I'll sit down and talk to that person. And pretty quickly in that strategy session, I'll figure out what their real strengths are. And I'll tell them it's the same, again, like going over and moving that painting, straightening it out. I'll tell you what is working, what is not working, what is not connecting, and I will help straighten out your painting on the wall.
Mm, I love
Basically.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
And when you were telling that story, I was thinking yesterday I went to see my brother. He just bought a new house, and I have an interior design background, right?
Hmm.
Everywhere I go, I will be sitting there thinking about what I would change. What color would I paint the walls? This piece of furniture needs to go, or that needs to be moved. And so, as I'm walking through my brother's house, he's very proud of it, obviously, and it's gorgeous, but it's dated. And so I'm like pointing out things, and my kids are kind of giving me this look like, Mom, Mom. It's like, I love you. I love this house, but here's the things that are going to make it better. And like,
Better.
I can't not say it. So I feel like
Yeah.
you have a similar
Yeah.
strength there.
Well, because you can't help it, because also you can see things that they can't. And that's the thing. I have a client who's a therapist. And for the longest time, she was like, I need you to work on my branding and I need to get more word out there about my services. I said, okay. So we started with a strategy session, and I went to her website, and right away, I said, you have to change your website. This opening page, this. I said, first of all, there's no image of you. I don't see a caring, loving, empathic uh, person that I can be vulnerable with if I'm needing therapy. Okay.
Yeah.
And I need that. Uh, a photo of you would be great, but a video of you, like, right when you pull up the page, a video of you talking, and so I can see your eyes. I can see that you are kind and gentle, and I can be vulnerable with you. That would be great. But what we saw when you went to the website was this huge, long bridge over water, and it was kind of dusk, it was like night, beginning of nightfall. And I said, what is this? And she said, oh, that's a very famous bridge. It connects this town to this town. It's where I'm located, so people know it's a landmark. It's not like San Francisco Bridge. It's not that kind of a bridge. It's different. And I said, okay. I said, I'm going to tell you my immediate, when I saw that, what I thought was jumping off a bridge.
Oh no.
And she went, what do you mean? She looked at it and she went, oh my God,
Not the
Christine.
message we want to be sending.
She says, I've had that up for a year. I said, you might want to get rid of the bridge.
Mm.
Because she was also thinking metaphorically too, right? The bridge connected thing. I'd go, no, no, no. No, I would rather have you say it to me in a video where I can see you. I said that image. I said you don't know. You think it's something good, but somebody who's coming with those kind of thoughts, maybe it's not a good thing. And she was like, "You're absolutely right." So she took that down right away. But what happens is that as business owners, and especially as small business owners, and we're doing everything. We're doing accounting and marketing, and oh my God, we don't see everything. We only see through our narrow lens. And we're very experienced and we're very wise and we know our stuff, but we don't know what it looks like from the outside world. And that's my job is to look at it from an outside perspective and to see what's clicking. And I'll tell you, this is working. This is so good what you did here. Yes, yes, more of that. And then I'll tell you where you got a bridge, you know, over troubled waters, you know.
Yeah, like you said, small business owners, we get in our own tunnel and we kind of assume that other people are always listening to us and that they've heard everything we've said and that we're getting our point across. But yeah, we get too much in our own little vacuum or our own little tunnel.
Yeah, that's human nature. You
Hmm.
know, that's human nature. So to have another set of eyeballs on it and or earballs, you know, as well, because I'm very auditory. I'm very visual and I'm very auditory just because of all those years in radio.
Hmm.
That's why I think podcasting is such a powerful marketing tool to have as your own business tool to be a host of a podcast like yourself. I think it's one of the wisest things you can do. And then from the perspective of being a guest on podcasts, so powerful. Your SEO goes up, your chat GPTO goes up. Um, you're reaching a different audience, but you're also every single time you're a guest on a show, you're practicing how to communicate,
Hmm.
right? You're getting better and better and better each time. And it's just very, very powerful medium because you're reaching people through their ears, and in between their ears is their brain, right?
Hmm.
And their minds. So it's a very, very powerful place. Yeah, I love it on both sides, from both sides of the mic.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a good way to get to know people and for them to get to know you because you can write the most beautiful copy, you can write the most beautiful email, but really you don't experience their energy that way. It takes a little bit more. You can
Yeah.
get some energy through in an email, right? But nothing like a video or in a podcast, especially somebody that's going to like binge a bunch of episodes. That's how you
Yeah.
can really get a whole picture or a whole understanding of somebody. And you get to a point, I'm sure you have your favorite podcast where you just feel like you know them and you start calling them by their first name as if they're like your friend from school or something.
Yeah, and the ones that are the shows that I find, and this is true with, this is true about marketing and getting the word out about your business across the board. We as a society are craving authenticity.
Mm,
We
yes.
want somebody, we know when somebody's speaking truth. We know now when somebody is lying. We can see it a mile away. And and we want that authenticity. We want real.
Yeah.
It
The
doesn't have to be
humanness.
perfect. As a matter of fact, if it's perfect, we're sus, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it needs to be real. And sometimes that realness has vulnerability to it. Uh, sometimes it has flubs or, you know, boo-boos. And but that's real and we're craving that. And that will be rewarded more and more as we go into this year, I believe, is that
Oh,
real honesty. Yeah.
I totally agree. We have our radar up. We are so sick of like, well, Chat
Yeah.
GPT and all the AI and all the things that our humanness is what's going to drive sales. It's what's going to create
Yeah,
lasting relationships. It's going to heal the world, I think.
absolutely. We just need to use our, we need to use our voice. We need to use those tools that we have. Some people are great writers, some people are great speakers.
Mhm.
Whatever tool you find it easiest for you to communicate, you need to do that. But you need to get out there. And I have a thing at the bottom of my website. On every page, it says, remember this: if you're not seen and heard, you're not hired.
Ooh, that's
You
good.
need to be seen, you need to be heard. So you need to do those videos, you need to write those blogs, you need to do those posts. Don't worry if you don't, don't worry about how many likes you have or how many followers you have. Create the content. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think we are always trying to focus on how many followers or how many downloads we have, and really we'd be better off if we went deeper instead of wider.
Yeah. Yeah. And you never know who's watching or who's reading your blog or who's watching your videos or who's consuming your content or who's reading your books. You never know.
Mhm.
What I find is that human nature, a lot of times people can love what you do and they don't necessarily write you or connect with you and contact you and say, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan, I think you're amazing. uh there, people are more apt to maybe complain, right? They go,
Mhm.
oh, where'd you wear that shirt? You said you're married to a woman. Okay. Right. But that's just human nature. But you don't know. And I always tell my clients, I say, when you're creating content, if it's a book or a blog or a social media post, pretend, pick somebody who's like somebody who you really admire, who you really like think is, amazing, and you're just a huge fan of them, right? As a human being. And write for them or speak to them.
Mm,
Create your content as if you're delivering it directly to that person
mhm.
or that group. And if you do that, you'll start to level up a little bit too. You start to go, oh, you know what? I do need to make this a little bit, better and hit home a bit. And it gives everybody, it gives you a much, gives you a higher bar to achieve. But it's really, really important when you set that bar, because then the content that you're creating is top quality. You want quality over quantity anyway,
Yeah.
right? So I do always say, just pretend like you're, if you're doing a video, pretend that that person that you really admire is watching it, and you'd be amazed at how your content changes.
I love that. I've never heard that. I've always heard, speak to your ideal client. And sometimes that's tricky, I feel like, because
Yeah, yeah. It can be because you don't know who. I mean, I have a parameter of of who my client is. 99% of my clientele are women. Women, and most of them are 40 and up, right? So I don't have a lot of, young 20 somethings. And I do have male clients. I have a smattering of male clients, but who's drawn to me, the magnetism of the stuff that I do, who's really drawn to me, are women of a certain age. I'm 61 now. I'm a certain age, right? And so I speak in a certain way, but I also know, like, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And so my specialty is working with those women too, are like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that, Christine. It's like, if I say, okay, this is what I want you to do, and they go, yeah, no, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. I love that. It's actually really awesome when I when I work with women, especially in their 60s. I've got clients that are in their 70s and even in their 80s,
oh wow.
and it's a blast
Yeah.
because these are really, I mean, these are women that have lived a huge life and they have so much to share. So it's an honor to be helping them get the word out.
Well, and if you're working primarily with coaches too, like I find they are all big-hearted and, there's usually the problem with a coach is that they don't see how amazing they are, right? So,
Mm, that's yes. I know I don't have that problem. I know I'm really good at what I do. Can I, but do I know everything? No. No. If there's a certain realm that a client needs and I can't fulfill that, I always send them elsewhere. If that's not my expertise, but they need that particular thing, if they
Mhm.
need an app created for their business, I'm not the one who's going to create that app for them. I will send them somewhere else.
Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Oh, funny. Um, hmm. Where and how did you start finding your clients, like your first clients, aside from the ones that were just coming to you that you were kind of helping through the radio station and
through
stuff?
the radio station. I think a lot of it was word of mouth. And also, when you're open, see, also when you're open to possibilities, then those possibilities, those opportunities come to you rather quickly. You're just open to them more, right? So especially when I was at the station and I would have they would write me an email and they'd go, "Oh, I'd love to be a guest on the show because I do this, that, and the other." And then they would send me their information. If they wrote a book, they'd send that information to me. But it was really just having that conversation with them. And then I knew that I could really help their business. And if I felt that connection where I knew I could really help their business, then I would tell them what I could do for them, right? It's the
Mhm.
same thing just even in everyday activity, if you're social, the thing is you can't hide in your basement and expect to get clients. So you need to get out there. You need to be, if there's a networking group you can be with or a business chamber, you do need to get out there. And I find when I'm just talking to people, I'll get an intuition. I'll get like the goosebumps and I'll know. And then other people, I'll talk to them and I don't feel anything. It's like that means that they're not my client or they're
Mhm.
not my people, my tribe.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of it too is word of mouth, referrals. People that have worked with me, they tell their friends or their colleagues, and then they'll reach out to me, and we'll have that conversation, the initial conversation. So I love that because that's gold.
Yeah.
Referrals are gold to
Referrals are
me.
gold for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can give as just like a quick win for someone who is starting their business or getting rolling in their business? Like maybe they're starting their website or social media or just getting started on their brand.
Yes, very important. Probably the one of the most important things. Well, okay, if you have the passion is important, yes, but then you really need to dial in on who you are, right? Who the brand is, which is you, but who you are, what you actually do for people, and how you help them. Okay. Sometimes you ask an entrepreneur, you say, "So what is it you do?" And they go, "Oh, what do I not do? I do everything. I help everybody with everything." Okay, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And when I say niche down to, I don't mean niche down to a micro, tiny little spot. Is you cannot say I do this and this, I do this, I also have this and this and this. Immediately people get overwhelmed and then they check out, right?
Yep.
So you need to bring people through your doorway with your main product or service that you offer. Okay, once they're in your world, then you can say, "Oh, by the way, I also do this, that, and the other." Okay, fine, but you need to be solid on that. The other thing is you need a really great headshot. I don't care what business you're in, unless you're selling widgets, okay? You need a really good headshot. And my headshot that I use, it's a few years old, but it's so representative of me. It's me wearing a black shirt with headphones on, a microphone in front of my face. I have a expression of joy, right? Silly, crazy. My mouth is open. You can't even see my eyes because I'm in my element. I am so happy and joyful. That image has gotten me through more doors than you would believe. That one image. So, the importance of a good headshot that represents your energy, that represents your style, your vibe. Okay.
Mhm.
If I, if you notice in that picture, I'm not wearing like a three-piece suit. I'm not all serious. I'm not like with my arms, I'm not corporate.
Mhm.
So, when people see that image, they kind of get an idea of my vibe, my energy, right? That's the one, probably the most important thing. Get a good headshot.
Yeah. Because what we're really after is energy. We're looking at people's energy and seeing if it's a match. So that makes perfect sense.
And
Did
it
you?
shows people that you're professional, that you're not just doing a selfie with your iPhone, you know. And there are some great pictures that you take with your iPhone. Those could be supplemental pictures on your website, but have that really good headshot that's well lit. And and when it's blown up, it's not all distorted. And of this a decade as well. Don't have a picture of yourself 30 years ago.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious, and we can edit this out, but did you look at my website and is there any like instant things that you were like, oh, she needs this?
No, I didn't look at your website yet.
Okay.
No, I didn't look at your website. I did. I've followed your podcast and the topics that you go over, but I have not gone to your website yet. We could uh, book a strategy session with me, and I'll go to your website.
I will do that. I will do that. Yeah, I'm so intrigued by everything that you're talking about. When you say the expert authority coach, are you into any like human design modalities? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't use it in my practice, but I use it for my practice, if
Mm,
that makes sense. I'm a projector. And that's really hard when you're somebody who's like, all about marketing and branding and getting the word out about your business. And it's like a projector in human design. Basically, we're supposed to wait for the invitation, right?
mhm.
Well, that could get really frustrating for somebody who's trying to get the word out about their business. But what I found is as soon as I embraced my human design, and stayed in my genius lane and just did my genius things. So writing my books, creating my podcast, doing my episodes, those type of things. The clients that are supposed to be for me, they're magnetized to me, and they're seeing it where they need to see it. But it could be very frustrating for somebody that's like, oh, I thought I need to do more market. I need to get my thing out there. But you do need to keep creating. You need to take action. You can't just sit back.
Yeah.
What are you? What's your human design?
I'm a manifesting generator, a 3-5, emotional authority. My incarnation cross is something with experimentation. Now I can't remember it. But basically, I learn by trying all the things and what doesn't work, which is kind of frustrating. It's like, oh man, I'm supposed to try all the things, burn life down, and then do it all over again.
Yeah, that's what I. Well, my dear friend, who I just got off a phone call with her, a dear colleague of mine, Mel McSherry, Mel McSherry. She's an expert in human design, and she's going to be on my podcast show. We're going to do 5 different episodes. We'll do it on all the types, and we're going to be talking about it. I would love to introduce you to her. I think you'd have a great. She's lovely,
Oh, I
absolutely
love
lovely.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
I
that.
love, I dig the whole human design thing. And I'm just scratching the surface. I'm not an expert at it at all. But I'm just learning a little bit about it.
Yeah. I basically have an Australian accent in my head lately because I've been listening to Emma Dunwoody so much. She's a human design coach, and oh man, she's so good.
What's her podcast?
Ooh, I think it's just called the Emma Dunwoody podcast. Let me look.
I'm gonna look that up.
The Human Design Podcast with Emma Dunwoody.
Wow. Okay. And good for her on having both her name as the brand and then the actual content of the show, which is human design. Okay. So if she was my client, I'd give her 5 stars for that.
Mm. Good to know. All right, well, let's remind everyone where to find you and how you
Yes.
can help them.
It's super easy. So I offer a absolutely free consultation strategy call. It's 30 minutes and we get to talk and I find out a little bit about you, what you're doing, what you want to do. And that is all. You can book that at my website, which is expertauthoritycoach.com, just expertauthoritycoach.com. Of course, if you look up my name, you can find me that way as well. But people have a hard time spelling Blosdale, so that's why we have expertauthoritycoach.com. And there's buttons all over there. It says free consultation, free strategy session. You can book that in today, and I'll see you tomorrow. And we'll talk about what you're doing, but also what lies ahead for you in the future and what we can create, what we can get you creating today. So it'll be
Mm,
really fun.
Yeah, so cool. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
It's
you,
been such
Lynz.
a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to meet you and have this conversation. I feel like we could probably talk for 6 more hours.
I
Um,
know we got a lot in common. We do.
yeah,
We
we
have a
do.
lot in common. Thank you so much for allowing me the space to be here and to share my some of my stories with you. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Hey guys, I just want to say thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the things wherever you're listening, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, so that we can help more people each and every day. Thank you for being here. Love you.